abs, side delts, upper chest, upper traps, neck, biceps, lats, glutes, and calves. These are the 9 muscles that have been statistically proven to be the most aesthetic. And today we're going to teach you how to train them optimally and how to also prioritize them in your workouts so you can build a physique that you're genuinely proud of. So you can look in the mirror and think, damn, my physique looks awesome. And that's going to come from prioritizing and training, especially these muscles today, the 9 most aesthetic muscles, as optimally and as professionally as possible. So we're going to talk to you today on how to do that and the exercise that you should be performing to be able to execute them correctly.
For a start, you might not even be going to the gym, and if that's the case, you're a bitch. And for a second, if you do even go to the gym, it's like you train like what you like to train, you skip legs 50% of the time, you don't even train some muscles because you're like, oh, I don't need that, like forearms, I train it with back anyway, even though I use straps. And that's why you look so average if you've been going. That's why you look so average, because you're not training each muscle properly and you're overlooking certain muscles that can transform your physique. It's that simple. And this is what separates you from the rest. The rest of the people that go to the gym aren't taking it seriously. They're not calculated with what they do, so they'll overlook this exercise. They won't do that exercise. They'll get tired halfway through and be like, you know what? I don't want to do that exercise anymore. I need to go home. I need to eat anyway. Whereas you, if you take all this advice on board that we talk about today, you can actually be the one that makes the progress. You can actually be the one that's like, you know what? Everyone else isn't doing this, I'm going to do it. And that's going to separate me from the rest. And then you're finally going to actually achieve something. You're finally going to actually do something and be like, oh damn, I'm proud of myself. Rather than again, being like, fuck, I failed again, I failed again, I failed again. You must be sick of that feeling. You must be. When I was at the beginning of my fitness journey and I was new to this and like new to consistency, discipline, etc., I was absolutely sick to death of being a failure, sick to death of another one. I didn't meet the goal that I said I would. I didn't do what I said I would. I was sick to death of it. It made me feel like shit, and that's what caused me to change. So surely you're sick of that feeling by now. Surely. Now, before we go on to teach you the aesthetic muscles that you need to train to look the best and look the most aesthetic and appealing to people, I want to give you some prerequisites. So just a couple of things. First of all, your muscle mass. You're only going to look aesthetic with a certain amount of muscle in your body. You can have the leanest physique ever and you can have great proportions, but if you weigh 50 kilo wet through, you're not going to look aesthetic. You're going to just look like another skinny guy. It's that simple. You're just going to be another guy on the street who doesn't fucking eat, basically starves themselves. And you're just going to look like another normal guy. So muscle mass is super important. So be training and train to grow muscle. This is why this is something that you can go for later on your fitness journey. This is something that originally you're going to have to take things into precaution that are going to take you away from this result. So for example, bulking, in your mind's gonna be like, no, I'm getting further away from my goal. But in a weird way, you're building muscle mass faster, which is then when you come back down to cut again, you will look aesthetic. So this is something to prioritize. It's like straight away in your fitness journey, focus on muscle mass, because muscle mass is going to be the most important thing that's going to make you look aesthetic. So you're going to have to bulk at the start of your journey to gain that muscle mass as quick as possible, and then you're going to cut. Even though it feels like you're actually moving away from your goal, bulking and having as much muscle mass as possible, as quickly as possible, is going to actually get you to looking that aesthetic and lean and getting your dream physique as soon as possible. And the other thing is body fat percentage. And you're going to think, whoa, this comes back to what you've just said about bulking, etc. No, when you're finally at the point where you've got enough muscle mass, when you've got enough experience to then cut down and look aesthetic, it's all about your body fat percentage. How lean are you going to get? The leaner you're going to get, the more crazy and more aesthetic you're going to look. They say the leaner you get, the bigger you look. So body fat percentage is important. You can train all these muscles perfectly and have as much muscle mass as you want. If you're 14, 15, 16% body fat, you're not going to look as aesthetic as someone who is 10% or even single digit % body fat. So body fat is super important to look an aesthetic. You need to have that layer of fat stripped off of you so you can look lean and shredded. It is that simple. And the final prerequisite is it's going to take years. You did not want me to say this on this video. You were here to be like, yeah, I'm going to look aesthetic like next week. That's not how it fucking works. It's going to take years of hard work, at least 2 to 3 years of perfect nutrition and training to look really, really aesthetic, at least. And I guarantee you'd be like, you're tempted to click off the video or you're looking somewhere else now because you've not got that quick fix that you wanted. But life doesn't give you a quick fix. That's not how things work. If it was a quick fix, it wouldn't be valuable. And if it wasn't valuable, you wouldn't be searching a video for it. It is that simple. So it's going to take years. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to do the things necessary prior, like bulking to get the muscle mass, and then eventually cutting to get down to body fat, which is going to make you look aesthetic, whilst also training all these muscles at the same time. So there are a few prerequisites that has probably put you off this video, but quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. I actually don't give a fuck. I'm here to give you the truth and the education that you need to get to where you want to be. So if you don't give a fuck and you're down to learn it and you know it's going to be a long grind and you're patient and you're ready for it, fucking perfect. If you're one of those people that are like, oh, I don't care now, I only want the quick fix, fuck off, genuinely, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Now is an overview of all the muscles that you will have to train to look super aesthetic. I'm going to give you an overview. So you got neck, which is obviously, you know your fucking neck, bro, you idiot. Your traps, and specifically your upper traps, which is like this muscle here that goes all the way down into the top of your back. Then you've got obviously upper chest, which is a bit that pops out when you unbutton like a buttoned shirt. Lateral delts, which are your side delts. So you've obviously, your shoulder's made up of 3 deltoids and it's your one on your side here that you do when you do a lateral raise. Biceps, everyone knows a fucking bicep. Abs, everyone knows abs. Lats, which is like when you come out here, it's the wings that you have on your back. It's the thing that runs all the way down and is connected to like your shoulder movement, etc. So if you almost, it's hard to teach someone who hasn't, because no one can feel their fucking lats, bro. But it's like almost if you depress your shoulder all the way down, raise your arm up, and then pull down, it's that muscle that you can feel here, right there, like your wings almost. Glutes, everyone knows what a glute is. And calves. Half of you just dreaded the fact that I said calves then, and glutes, because you fucking hate training them, but you're gonna have to fucking suck up to it, unfortunately. Because I guarantee none of you boys fucking train legs anyway. So, we've just gone through all the muscles that are gonna make you look aesthetic. Why? Because having a large neck, traps, upper chest, lateral delts are going to all give you that wide frame. They're going to all be perceived to give you the absolutely huge frame compared to your waist. And one of the most aesthetic things is having that V-taper, where again, this will come under lats as well. When you grow your lats, it gives you that absolutely wide frame and you look like that. You look like an upside down triangle, almost like a Dorito. You see how, if you look at my shoulders here, and then you come down, there's like a gradient like this, and it comes down, and that's what the V-taper is. That's what the V-taper you want. And that's gonna make you look as aesthetic as possible. That's why when you look into bodybuilding, and you look into like, the Mr. Olympia just happened recently, and one of the criteria is that you need to have a V-taper, and the blockier your waist is, the less successful you are gonna be just on a piece of paper, written down. That's just the general rule of it. The general consensus is the blockier the waist you are, the less likely you are able to be successful on the Olympia stage. And that's because having a blockier waist, having a smaller frame with narrower clavicles and not as wide of a frame by training these muscles is then going to disallow you to look more aesthetic. It is that simple. Now, biceps and abs, obviously you don't want me to go into that. You want them muscles really bad. You understand why they make you look aesthetic. It's that simple. Glutes and calves. Now this is a weird one because people would never suggest that glutes and calves are gonna make you aesthetic. You're like, yeah, I get the V-taper, and obviously I know biceps and abs are like renowned to be one of the most attractive muscles, etc. But glutes and calves, like what the fuck? And I wanna give you this, it's kind of like a vague description, but glutes and calves gonna give you like your physique substance, if that makes sense. Like if I put 2 pictures, if I remember, one here of a guy with huge glutes and calves, one here of a guy without them, The guy with, you can see like his physique has substance. It's like it looks flat and incomplete, disproportionate without the glutes and calves. And most people overlook this. When you look at a physique, the glutes and calves never stick out to you unless obviously they're crazy, insane or whatever. But you never actually acknowledge them, but you don't understand that that's adding to the entire picture. And when you take out these muscles from the entire picture, it's a noticeable difference. It's like forgetting to put like butter in a cake when making a cake, for example. Like if you were to look at it, you wouldn't be able to be like, oh yeah, it's because I didn't put butter in. But once you take the butter out, you do notice that the product becomes significantly worse. It's like that, right? So you can't actually put your finger on it and notice it when you look at a good physique. But then when you take it out, like I showed you, the with and without, something's missing, something's disproportionate, and you just don't look as aesthetic and as masculine in a weird way. So we're going to cover how to train your glutes and calves today, because that truly does add to your physique. Truly, truly does. So now we're going to go through my favorite exercise for each of these muscles that are going to make you grow as quick as possible. I'm going to give you some cues on the way to help you train these muscles effectively. Neck, simple neck curl. So you get a plate or you get a dumbbell and you put it on your forehead and you'll lean off a bench just so your like upper back maybe or your shoulders are off the bench. You want to make sure your shoulders are off the bench properly so you're not swinging as much. And then all you're going to do is let your neck relax as far back as it will go. Don't obviously swing it back, control the weight back like you would with any other exercise. And then contract up. Make sure that you truly feel in your neck and try not to make sure that you're using like, don't think about headering something, don't think about moving it with your head, thinking about lifting your head up with your neck and pulling with these muscles. So when you're bringing yourself up, you're pulling with your neck rather than jolting your head forward, if that makes sense. Try and find like a towel. If you wear like a pump cover, I typically do this. When I wear a pump cover, I'll take my pump cover off so I can put the weight on the pump cover, and that way when I put it on my forehead, it's like the dirt isn't getting on it and like it's not scratching my forehead and shit and like giving me spots that I don't need. So if it's like, if I take my pump cover off, I'll put it in between my head and the plate or the dumbbell, and that way it won't get dirty. And that's how you train your neck. Train your neck like any other muscle, by the way. The same prerequisite comes with abs as well. Like people try and come about like, oh, I need to train them in a different way and I'm not really fussed. Like for example, people that do ab exercises, they're like 5-minute ab workouts. That's not going to build your abs. You build your abs like any other muscle. You build your neck like any other muscle. Pick a rep range, progressively overload, have good form. That's how you train your neck. Traps. My favorite exercise for traps is easily a shrug. Easily a shrug where you want to lean forward and focus on pulling back, not up. I don't want you to pull up, I want you to pull back. So almost like you're following the path of like your jawline with your shoulders. So you're pulling back, not straight up into your neck. You're pulling back. Follow the angle of your jawline when you're leaning forward. You see how my shoulders are taking the same path as my jawline? That's how you know you're pulling in the right direction. Now there's so many different ways you could do it. You could do the classic dumbbells. My favorite is lean on a bench. If you can set a bench to like 30 or 45 degrees preferably on a Smith machine, have the Smith machine dangle below the bench and shrug up. That way you don't have to think about leaning forward because you're already lay on a bench, and then you've got that extra stability to be able to just literally just focus on pulling with your traps. And that's going to be the best exercises where you don't have to worry about anything else other than the movement in general. So you know when you do like a skull crusher, for example, or a bench press, there's multiple things you have to like take into consideration. So for example, on a bench press, you have to worry about like the setup and where your feet are, and like during the entire movement you've got to worry that, oh, I'm not going to hit the safeties, I need to make sure I'm using my leg drive. They think about so many things, and that takes away from the contraction of the muscle sometimes. So when you are doing an exercise, you want to try and just, all you have to do is worry about this muscle group and this contraction, and they're going to be the best exercises. For example, on a skull crusher, when you get to a heavy enough weight, you find when you're on the bench, you're actually tipping this way. And that's something that you worry about during your exercise. You're like, oh, I hope I don't tip, I hope I don't tip. And then that's taking your intention away from the exercise contraction at hand, and you're actually gonna make less gains as a result. So if you can find a way like this with the shrugs to have the bench and all you have to do is focus on that contraction, you're gonna make the best gains and look really aesthetic. Upper chest, nice and simple, incline chest press, tuck your elbows in. I specifically like a Smith machine. I've not really seen a good incline machine. That might be just because I just go to a pure gym. It is what it is. If you have a machine, use a machine. I'd say I'd use a Smith before I'd use dumbbells, but again, it's whatever you prefer and whatever you can execute correctly. I'm not gonna be here saying you should do this and don't do that. If you find it more fun to do dumbbells, do dumbbells. The funnier you find things, the more consistent you'll be. So you need to think like, oh, what do I like? What do I have fun doing? And do it. So for me, I like a Smith machine. I just think it's easy to like bend the bar and rack my elbows in. You want your elbows at around 45 degrees. So imagine your elbows all the way tucked in. You don't want them here. Imagine them all the way flared out. You don't want to here because you know they're going to target your shoulders. You want them halfway. And that way, if you can keep them halfway, you're going to be biasing that upper chest on a 30-degree angle of the bench press. And try and limit your arch as much as possible. If you can't help arching, set the bench a little bit lower and then arch, so then that compensates for the angle of incline that you're using. So if you're not going to use an arch 30 degrees, if you're going to arch really excessively, do a 15-degree bench press and then obviously just press. And that's going to really build your upper chest. I bet you can see when you're on holiday and like you unbutton your shirt and you can just see the striations through there. Like it looks sick, bro. So that's going to make you look really aesthetic as well. Incline chest press. Now, lateral delts. Absolute favourite staple, lat raise. So me personally, for a lat raise, I don't like using cables. You have to use a really, really small weight, so then it's hard to progressively overload with a weight because obviously it takes so much effort to finally get up to the next weight. Then when you get up to the next weight on the cable, it's too fucking heavy. Like I don't like it at all using a cable. I feel really weak. I feel really like, I just don't feel comfortable doing it. So I use a dumbbell, but I also don't like swinging with my body weight. You know, when you do a lateral raise, right? See if I can make enough room here. I'm not gonna be able to do the movement because my desk is here, but you wanna lean forward slightly and then start your movement. Sweeping out literally with your shoulder. Don't think about swinging with your wrists, pulling with your elbows. Don't think about any of that. Imagine your arms are like hooks. Imagine you just don't have arms. Imagine it's just a metal rod that you don't have feeling or control over. You've just got your shoulder. That's what I want you to imagine. And then I want you to imagine pulling out each corner of the room. So like a 45-degree angle, sweeping out with your shoulders. Obviously this isn't good form because I can't fucking move, but sweeping out with your shoulders, that's gonna get you the best contraction possible whilst also leaning forward, just slightly. But when you do this with dumbbells, it gets to a point where it gets heavier and heavier and then you start using momentum. And I don't want you to do that because when you're using momentum, you're then taking it away from the force used by your actual muscle that you're trying to train. You're using force from your legs and like just moving and momentum in general. And then your lateral delts are not using as much. They're not using as much force and they're not gonna get as much gains. It's that simple. So I don't want you to use momentum. So the trick that I fixed to find this is that it's perfect in my gym because it's like a little wall, like a little pole. And it's literally just wide enough so I can put my back on it. And then when I can put my back on it, I can let my arms like rest to my side and then do the lateral delt movement, the lat raise. And it's great because instead of using momentum, I get to push against this wall and then I still use my contraction from my delts to be able to lift that dumbbell up. It's perfect. So if you're gonna do it, use a wall like this, lean flat against the wall, and then out we go. That's honestly the best way that I've done lat raises because you're pushing against the wall and you're still using all the fibers in your delts rather than momentum, and you don't have to be fucking bullshit fucking cables that are really, really light, and then when you go slightly heavier, it's like, fuck, I can't do it. So fuck cables, do dumbbells. That's how I think you should be doing lat raises personally. Then we're going to biceps. Just keep it fucking simple. Do a bicep curl. You know how to do a bicep curl? Do a fucking bicep curl. Don't overthink it. Abs. Crunches. Keep it fucking simple. Train it like a normal muscle. Now, in my gym, we have a crunch machine. So if you have a crunch machine, I want you to set it to literally like ours are in numbers. So -1 is like as far back as possible. That's going to give you the greatest range of motion. So you want to set it to the same. That's going to give you the greatest range of motion. And then all I want you to think about is spinal flexion. So your abs work when your spine flexes. If you just focus on your spine now, crunching forward and crunching back like an ab crunch is going to activate your abs really, really well. So you want to focus about spinal flexion, and obviously when you're doing an ab crunch, your arms are going to be here, and you're naturally going to think about pushing the weight with your arms. I don't want you to do that. With me, I couldn't do this without pushing my arms into the weight. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So what I do now is my headphones used to slip off when doing a crunch because you're crunching down and my head's down here and my headphones are going to fall off, right? So what I did was I braced by putting my hands on my headphones like this, sticking into my head, and then I'm just focused on pulling with my abs, and that way my headphones are staying on, and also all I have to worry about is pulling with my abs. My arms, my body isn't helping me with the movement, it's just pulling the machine with my abs, and I can tell you that is the best progress that I've made to my abs ever, because now I'm finally getting an exercise where I'm not using any other body part but my abs to actually train them, which is insane. I've finally isolated them. So if you've got a machine, do it like that. Hold your headphones in, then do the ab crunch with the machine on the most range of motion. If you haven't got that machine, I'd say stick to cable crunches. So have the cable like quite high so that when you grab it, it's like full arm's length. Pull it down to your chest and then do the same crunching movement. And try and use a handle which is going to take the least out of like the motion with your hands. So maybe use a rope, and then if you hold the rope quite high up and focus on keeping your elbows locked, then when you focus on keeping your elbows locked, your arms aren't helping you with the movement. So that's a really good exercise for your abs. It's going to make your abs look great. Obviously with abs, it's really largely down to body fat. People say abs are into the kitchen, and that's true to an extent. Obviously you still need to build the muscle like any other thing, but you're only going to see your abs when you're at a sufficient body fat percentage. Lats. You can train lats in so many different ways. My favorite lat exercise, again, our workout routines in the description. My product first link in the description, how would you build an aesthetic physique. We've got so many exercises for lats. So my consensus is choose one that you enjoy. So if you're looking for a workout routine that's going to provide you a really good physique, training all these muscles and more, first link in the description. So you'll see that in my program, there's multiple exercises for lats. So it's like, oh, okay. But that's completely fine. You can just train lats however you want. I'm going to give you one exercise today, but you could do more than one because it's such a big muscle. Best lat exercise that I do, by far, I love a pull-up. I absolutely love neutral grip pull-up. So I'm like keeping my elbows, my shoulders depressed, and I'm focusing on pushing my elbows into my pockets. It's going to really contract my lats and my entire back, and I fucking love it. You can do a lat pull down, they're great. You can do a narrow grip row, they're also great. A close cable grip row is something that I've also been doing, and that's been absolutely amazing for just isolating the lats. So any movements that are like narrow grip or neutral grip are going to be really, really good for your lat movements. If I will say anything, on most rows, don't focus on like really, really leaning forward, because that's going to take the tension away from your lats. I want you to just go as far as your lats will like extend. So about here, I wouldn't even roll the shoulders. It's not really necessary. So I literally just go to about here where my lats are then at the highest point of tension, and then row back all the way. Don't go like this, go like that, roll the shoulders, roll the back. It's not really necessary. I'd like keep the tension and then pull back. Glutes. We showed you this in the intro to the video. Hip thrusts, kickbacks, whatever you want to do. I fucking love hip thrusts. People can turn around and be like, oh, it's sus, that is gay. Get a fucking grip, mate. Actually get a grip. People that turn around and go like, oh, the hip thrust is gay now. It's so fucking weird. Like, it's a movement like every other fucking movement. That's like a guy turning around and going, treading legs is gay, like, that's for girls. Yeah, that's why you got chicken legs, you bitch. Like, it's not gay, is it? Let's be fucking real. It's a movement in the gym. You're going to look great. You're going to look aesthetic. You're going to get the goals you want to get. So get over yourself. Do a fucking hip thrust. Fucking hell. Unless you want to be weaker than the girls and the girls showing you up when it comes to leg day. Have you seen them trends where it's like, or when I do legs after a man and it's like, oh, they're flying the weight up. Do you want to be one of those dudes that gets fucking outlifted by his girlfriend? Like, let's be fucking real here. And then calves. Standing calf raise. Simple as, I use it on a pendulum squat and I get right on the edge of the platform, and then I do my calf raises. Seated calf raises are fine. I do find them a bit awkward, so I'd rather probably do Smith machine standing. I'd rather even do that on a Smith machine rather than seated, just because seating's kind of awkward. You don't really feel it. You're using like the bar again, like your hands to like pull yourself up. It's awkward to set up and get out of. I just do standing, to be completely honest. And that's how you're going to grow all of your muscles as best as possible to make you look as aesthetic as possible. Now, if you want to go one step further, the final thing that we're going to say, if you want to go one step further and prioritize them, put them at the beginning of your workouts. Typically, these sort of exercises, especially like neck, traps, abs, and calves, like these are always put the back of people's exercise workout routines, because they're like, oh yeah, this doesn't really clash with any other exercise, so I'll do the more important exercises first, and then I'll do these after. But when you come to these exercises after, one, you're a pussy, so you'll be like, oh, I don't want to do them, so I'll go home. They're not really that important anyway. Two, you'll be super fatigued. You'll be super fatigued and you won't be able to put as much effort into the set, and then you won't get as much growth, and then you come home and you're like, why aren't my calves growing, bro? It's because you're putting them at the end of the workout. It's that simple. So if you want to prioritize and look as aesthetic as possible, actually put these at the start of the workout, because if we use your logic of, oh, it doesn't affect any other muscle group, it doesn't affect this training, then you could put it at the front and then not affect the rest of your training anyway. So if you want to prioritize them, put them at the front of your workout routines, and then you'll get the most gains out of all these muscles that you could possibly do. For example, for me, I do lat raises right at the start, superset them with bicep curls right at the start. I'll do lats right at the start of my day. I'll do upper chest at the start of my day, and it gets the best gains possible, and I look the most aesthetic that I possibly can. They're the muscles that you're going to have to prioritize to look as aesthetic as possible. If you want more tips and fitness like this, check my first link in the description. It's going to build you a top 1% physique as a teenager. You're going to achieve all the fitness goals that you wanted to achieve. I think it's the best product I've ever made. You can be in a community of like-minded people who want to also build a physique and achieve the goals that you want to achieve. You might find people from locally that you can go to a local gym with after college or after school or whatever. Honestly, and you're going to achieve all your goals even if them things don't happen. You're going to, at bare minimum, you're going to achieve the goals that you've always wanted. I think it's a great product, and I think if you do buy it, obviously no pressure to, you don't fucking have to, like, buy my goals. But I think that you will reap a lot of benefits out of it. It is that simple. If you want a private message or private, then you can message my Instagram, second link in the description, if there's something that I haven't covered here that you're still curious about, or if you've got a genuine question on your fitness routine in general that I haven't covered yet, send me a DM on Instagram. I'm sure I can help you with that personally as well. So that's how to make your body look as aesthetic as possible by prioritizing specific muscles. Hope you learned a lot. Have a good session, bro, and I'll see you later.